call kicked off. We have a couple other gentlemen that are registered, so as they pop in, we'll just welcome them. I am so excited to have you guys on the call. My name's Kat. I'm a pro figure competitor, a promoter, sports model, prep coach, and trainer. And I will be moderating the call, and we have an awesome panel today to answer those questions that you guys had. So I'm going to let them go ahead and introduce themselves. I have George. Do you want to introduce yourself?
Yep. George Thomas. I am freshly 41 years young, and I reside just south of Lansing, Michigan, in a little city called Charlotte, born and raised in southwest Detroit, Michigan. And I have been a competitive natural bodybuilder for probably a little over 2 years now.
Okay, Zach.
Zach Mason, fully functional fitness. I'm a trainer and a competitor. I live in Naples, Florida, where Kat also lives. I do mostly in-person and online training and prep coach, and whatever I can do in the bodybuilding world, I try to do.
We have Leif Anderson.
I'm Leif Anderson up in Duluth, Minnesota. I'm a contest prep coach, as well as a promoter. I promote the Diva Classic all women's events, the Michigan Roar, Junior USA Championships in Madison, Wisconsin, Iowa Inferno, the Wisconsin Warrior, Mr. and Ms. Upstate New York, the Michigan State, Minnesota Mayhem, Florida Fury, and that's all I can think of off the top of my head. We're always trying to grow the natural revolution, our natural drug-free movement here in the United States. That's about it. I'm a head judge for numerous federations, and I really focus on just supporting the sport as a whole, our drug-free sport. I know there's a lot of lines drawn in the sand, which I always try to break through and just kind of unite just kind of all of our drug-free competitors, athletes, promoters, judges, just our entire drug-free fit fam.
Love it. Okay, athletes, I want to thank you guys for your awesome questions and your promoter feedback, because as promoters, our goal is to make our sport better, and by getting the feedback from you guys, that's how we're going to be able to do it. John, can you go ahead and introduce yourself? Tell us a little bit about you, and then Michael will have you go right after John.
Hi, yes, I'm Jonathan Goins. I am 38, living in Houston, Texas. I compete with the INBA, PNBA. I'm a PNBA pro men's physique as of last year. Last year was my first year competing, earned my pro card there, and really want to, have a good, successful pro season. So yeah, going in, learning, soaking it all in.
Awesome. Congratulations. All right, Michael.
Hi, everyone. Michael Bach, first-time competitor, 2019 at the Michigan Roar. Did transformation because I lost like 60-some pounds. And then did men's physique. And for fun, I did classic and realized very quickly I was not meant for that division. So coming back with a vengeance this year for a pro title at the Michigan State, and going to see how that goes, and hopefully going to do a show 4 weeks after, either in nice, warm Duluth, Minnesota, or sunny California, depending on what the coronavirus allows me to do.
Awesome. That's awesome, Michael. Now, Rico, go ahead and tell us about yourself.
Rico, PNBA Classic Physique Pro. I've been competing for about, how long, Leave? Maybe 4 years? 3 years? 4 years?
Going on 4 years now. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. I currently live in, I'm from Detroit, but I currently live in Richmond, Michigan. I think that's about it.
That's awesome. Galaxy S9 just joined us. Can you hear us? I think it might be a Thomas or a Tom. I don't hear anybody. You guys hear anybody?
Nope.
Just pop in when you can. If you haven't introduced yourself, pop in and introduce yourself. We're going to go ahead and get started. We had some great questions from you athletes. So, okay, good. Galaxy S9's connected. Is this Tom?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. Tell us about yourself.
Well, I'm 64 years old. I'll be 65 shortly. I'm up from upstate New York, a little town called Webster, which is right along the southern shore of Lake Ontario, east of Rochester. And I am actually standing in my barn right now with horses over my shoulder. And I wasn't so sure this was going to go through, and horses weren't a whole lot of help. But sorry for being a little bit late, but literally was out standing in a horse pasture, making sure I dodged all the things that they leave out there. But yes, yeah, great to be here.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for joining us. We're going to go ahead and get started with our questions. We don't have Doug on here, but he asked a really good question. And we're just going to go through these because you may have these questions. If anything sparks you to have a question, please feel free to just pop in. Doug had asked, he wasn't certain whether he should register for men's physique or classic physique for a given show, and should he do both?
So I'll jump in. It obviously, an accurate answer really depends on the individual. So that's kind of definitely my disclaimer. There's no just general umbrella answer for that. I do suggest with that question, reaching out to somebody that is knowledgeable in the industry, whether it's an athlete, a judge, a promoter, so they can get a visual on you, just kind of assess where you're at, and then give you some accurate feedback. Because without even seeing you, we can give you a general answer, but not anything specific. The other thing is, it's not just the way you look, it's also your personality. And especially with men's physique versus classic physique, depending on the federation that you compete in, the posing, the presentation, kind of what you're exuding confidence-wise, it's very different. In most of the federations, men's physique is just kind of restricted to quarter turns. Classic physique, of course, has those muscular mandatory poses. INBA, PNBA does incorporate some of those muscular poses as well, still adhering to the men's physique criteria. But just because you fit into something physically, we also want to make sure that you are competing in a division that kind of fits your personality as well. In general, I'm not the biggest fan of an athlete competing in multiple divisions just because the criteria is different. With that being said, if you simply do not know where you fit, or you have a physique that could rock both of the divisions, and you're still an amateur just kind of getting started, by all means, kind of get your feet wet, taste each division, and then go from there. But eventually, as you work your way through the amateur ranks and become a pro in one or even in both of those divisions, I do feel eventually you need to make the decision of where you're going to find your home. In the amateur ranks, that's one thing. Taste each division, see what you like, see where you place better. But as you move to the next level, you really need to decide, where am I going to excel? Even if you're capable of competing and even at a high level in both, in this sport, it's already a subjective sport. There's no way around that. But I feel you're not doing yourself justice if you don't fully embrace one division and go all in. So for now, you can do both of the divisions, and make sure that you're adhering to the criteria of not only what your physique looks like, but also how you're presenting it. But just know, at some point, I really I encourage you to commit to one division of where your heart is and where you best fit.
That's a great answer. Zach, George, you guys agree with that?
Yeah, I'd say, yeah, first show, go for them both, see which one, like Lee said, you enjoy yourself more, and then post show, get feedback from the judges and see which one they think you fit in the best, and then go from there.
Yeah.
And the other thing is, we encounter this all the time. Where are you best fit right now, early in your career? You may be, and this is arbitrary hypotheticals, you may be better suited for men's physique right now. But having a professional set of eyes like Zach, like Kat, like George, like Rico, kind of take a look at you, your future may be, I mean, just hands down, we look at you and wow, you are the epitome of what we're looking for classic physique when it comes to potential of where you're going to grow into. But at this moment, you're probably going to place better in a men's physique class. So not only factoring in the variables like for the immediate, future, but also seeing where that road is going to take you. A professional set of eyes, a knowledgeable set of eyes will actually see that down the road you may be able to grow into, or you may have more potential in a different division down the road. But at this exact moment, it may be men's physique, or maybe classic physique, or maybe bodybuilding. We see that a lot for both male and female divisions, where you're at currently, and where you may place better currently is not your future. I mean, it is if you want it to be, but with your frame, with your structure, with your potential, it may take you in a different direction. And so that decision of where am I competing now, it may be, it may be different than kind of where you're best suited for when it comes to just your genetic potential.
Yeah, that's a great.
There's lots of pros that do that spend a couple of years as a pro in bodybuilding. They find out that they're better in classic physique or men's physique and go to classic. So yeah, at the same point, you can stay pro there for a couple of years and move to a different division and do that as well.
Perfect. Rico, you had some really good questions. Why don't you go ahead and share your questions about the stipulations about the shows? Because I think that's important, especially now. I'm trying to unmute you. I actually think he froze. So what Rico had asked is, what kind of stipulations are there for the shows? Crowd size, mandatory masks, distancing from each other. How are we as promoters abiding by those guidelines, or how are we working with athletes to give them the best experience and still keeping them safe? Because obviously athletes are our main priority, right? And keeping you guys safe and healthy.
Yeah, and safety, health, and wellness, we'll never compromise. We want to keep moving forward. We want to have these shows, and we will do everything. Kat being a promoter, myself being a promoter, we will do everything in our power to make sure that the show goes on, but never at the expense of the safety and the health of not only our athletes, but our staff, our spectators, our fans. That will always be the number one priority. Again, I'm not Nostradamus. We can't we can't predict the future. And as you all know, things change so quickly in the world that we live in right now, not only regarding COVID, but also like how we are dealing with things, with the CDC guidelines, with any kind of restrictions, spectator restrictions, social distancing. I mean, it is changing on a week by week, day by day, in some cases, basis. So I can't, regarding a specific event, even we have the Michigan State rolling up. In 1 month, September 12th, we have our Michigan State in Grand Rapids. I have no idea on the day of the show what restrictions or things we are going to implement, because again, we'll adhere to whatever the CDC guidelines are. And to make sure not only everybody has an amazing experience, but also keep everybody safe. But at this time, I have no idea what they're going to be. With that being said, we are prepared for literally anything that is thrown at us. All staff in masks, having a nurse on staff for athlete checking to take athlete temperature. We also have nurse on staff at the venue day of show to take all temperatures of spectators, staff, and athletes on Saturday morning, the day of the show. We have a no contact thermometer, social distancing on stage. We make sure that that we're taking the necessary precautions to, again, keep everybody safe, but still make it an entertaining experience for spectators and enjoyable experience for the athletes. I just promoted the North American in Chicago on August 1st. Incredible event, amazing experience. But because of, again, social distancing and controlling how many people were in the venue at any given time, we actually restricted spectators to each athlete could bring 2 guests. So we had to pre-register those guests. We had segmented, classes of when the amateurs are on, when the pros are on, just to be able to control how many people were in and out of the venue at any given time. And it worked out amazingly.
Well, and also, Leaf, you guys streamed it, which I think that's another thing that we'll probably start seeing at a lot of these competitions is they'll be streamed live. So even as a competitor, your friends and family can still be there to support you by going in, Facebook Live or Zoom streams or whatever to actually be able to continue to support you in the sport and adhere to the guidelines.
100%.
Zach, you have a question?
Yeah, I have actually one for Lee. So with Florida having looser guidelines, obviously, than where you're at, are you still going to follow what you're doing up in Michigan, or are you going to follow more of Florida?
So it really is state by state. Like Michigan is actually, they're pretty tight when it comes to restrictions.
We're really tight.
Yeah.
That's what I was going to say.
So like we are probably going to have to take more precautions. I'm not just arbitrarily setting rules like my own rules. We'll adhere to whatever restrictions, respectfully and professionally, whatever hurdles are placed on our way for any given state, we'll roll with it. Absolutely. We're not going to complain about it. We're not going to gripe about it because that does no good.
Right.
We will adhere to, I just want the opportunity. I know that given the opportunity, we can host a show and keep everybody safe. We can follow the rules, follow the guidelines, whatever the statutes, the orders are that are set in place. I'll adhere to them, and we can do so flawlessly and create an amazing experience for everybody involved. I just want to make sure that we have the opportunity to show that we can do this, as opposed to just having to shut a show down. So I was very thankful. Like I said, August 1st, we had our North American in Chicago. Michigan State is rolling up. I would love to just open an event with no restrictions. And in the future, moving forward, if a state allows us to do so, then if we have more flexibility, we'll still always take precautions. We'll always take precautions. We'll always have the hand sanitizing stations throughout the entire venue. In the foreseeable future, my staff will always be masked up. The athletes there's no harm in taking temperatures at athlete check-in. With a strict protocol in place for that. Those things I'm going to do for the foreseeable future. With like spectator restrictions, if we're allowed to have, more live in-person spectators at a given venue in a given state, I'm going to take advantage of that. Again, within reason. We don't want to completely recklessly open up the floodgates, because again, I do not want to take this whole, I don't want to take steps backwards.
I'll be liable for someone being like, I got COVID and leave.
But we take all necessary precautions. But Minnesota versus Wisconsin versus Michigan versus New York versus Florida, we really, whatever the guidelines and restrictions are in place for that given state is what we follow.
Perfect. Thank you.
Just like what you said too. Oh, sorry.
Oh, go ahead, George.
Well, just like what Leaf said too, so long as we have the opportunity to still have a show, that's what's important. So, where we can still get on stage and all the months and months of hard work, let's just follow the rules. I agree with Leaf. No complaining. No, let's just get out there. We'll follow the rules and, have a good show. But it does vary state by state. I know that.
Yeah. Thank you, George. Yes, absolutely. Zach, I'm going to ask you, you have some great questions too. Talk a little bit louder because I want to make sure we're getting these too. No, you're fine right now, but just
Okay.
Tom, why don't you go ahead and ask your question that you had?
Yes, thank you. Actually, I've been competing for decades. I've been around a long time, Master Pro, I don't know, a long time. But my question is, I always have a hard time finding what I consider a suitable posing suit. I think in the past, I've always used Andre's Calling or Pro from years ago. Not real happy with that either. So I was wondering if you gentlemen had a recommendation for a posing suit. Not cut real short on the sides, but pretty traditional men's posing suit.
For what
So,
division?
I'm sorry, George, go ahead.
Oh, sorry, I was just
Men's
wondering
bodybuilding
what.
for Tom.
Oh, for bodybuilding? Oh, okay. Yep, I do classic physique, so.
But do they do posing shorts at the classic? I mean, I'm sure they do. Do they have like, do they do that like men's posing gear, or do they do very specific?
No, so it's very flexible regarding cut, which is problematic because there's so many options to choose from. Kat, just so we're able to provide Tom with some value, I don't have any designers that I would just arbitrarily recommend or specific cuts. In either in post production or when you post this, like in the caption, could we go ahead and list some? And you and I can chat, and we can connect with Zach and Rico and George as well. Can we list some of the reputable and top tier designers for men's posing trunks that we can personally vouch for? Then Tom can reach out to them specifically.
Yeah, absolutely. And Zach, you actually do bodybuilding too. Do you have any one that you particularly like?
Yeah, I was just looking
That's
through my
great.
email. So I use Body Temple. He's out of California. All the different designs, different colors, different way to go about the colors. Very fair price. I think I was paying $25 or $30 per pair, and it gets them to you in a couple days.
Awesome.
He sent once. The wrong pair got sent to me. The contest was like 6 days away, and I had my next pair 3 days before the competition, no charge. He felt bad, sent some extra stuff, so he really takes care of us. So I'll give that info to Kat so she can give it out.
And then Tom, like it's amazing. Bodybuilding has really evolved regarding posing suits over the years, and I want to be honest with you. Being a seasoned judge myself, it's expected that there needs to be some time and attention put into suit selection.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think we kind of just say, that's for like bikini for, the women or figure. But a man should have a suit that's not just a suit,
Right, I agree.
with the size. It needs to complement your physique. It's got to highlight your structure and your frame, as opposed. There's nothing more. Again, this is a small detail, and this is a physique sport. So, your physique is where most of the judging, almost all the judging and the assessment happens. But to have, a little extra room in the backside of a suit, and it's just kind of hanging off of you. When it comes to
Close calls.
in place, it's those details that make our job on the judging panel a lot easier. You're going to see something that is completely foreign to, like I said, Tom, you've been plugging away for a long time.
Yeah, long time.
Kudos to you for that.
Yeah, thanks.
But back in the day, for a man, a bodybuilder to have like a scrunch butt would have been like absolutely out of the question. Now, there's a lot of, it's all about complementing your frame, your structure. If you have dialed in glutes, you may want to show a little bit more of that. If that's not one of your leaner points, then we'll have a little bit more coverage. To work with a designer that's not just going to have an off the rack suit, somebody like Zach would recommend, that is the difference. There's so much time and effort, blood, sweat, and tears, and money that go into the sport. Why cut a corner with an off the rack pair of posing trunks? Like Zach mentioned, price points are for a man. We're lucky. We don't have to spend $600 on a suit. For a man to spend $20, $30 on a custom pair of trunks, I'm telling you, it's a no-brainer. So I appreciate the question, because that is a very, very important question. And like I said, we'll be able, in the comment section or in the caption, we'll be able to provide some designers that we would recommend. Zach, who was the one that you work with again?
Body Temple. And another thing to go with what you were saying, Leith, is color is a big thing too. I mean, color can help your look. I mean, you don't want too dark of a pair if you're however your body tone is, too dark or too light. So since they are so inexpensive, you can get a couple different colors, try them out, see what best suits your body. Same with the style.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so we apologize. Like we don't have too many options just off the cuff, but like so we'll take care of you once this is posted to
No,
Cat's
that's fine. I appreciate it.
Good.
Tom, do you have? I'm sorry, Cat. Tom, do you have any shows on the calendar for either this fall or for 2021?
Well, I did. I think like all of us. I was going to go up in Canada and do international for IDFA, and then, of course, the border here from New York to Canada is closed, and they just extended it. I was kind of hoping I could hit the universe up there in December, but I have a feeling that that's going to be the border will still be closed also. But I'm looking for one in November somewhere in the Pennsylvania 5-hour drive area from where I live. So I have some suits at home, had them for a couple of years, and they're okay. I have a couple of different manufacturers. I usually go in like a maroon color that just hits my skin tone a little bit. I have black hair, so that seems to go well, and I always come in very tan, so the maroon always seems to go well with me as opposed to a lighter blue or something. But so I think like all of us, we're waiting to see what happens and what's available.
Gotcha. Yeah.
Cool. Thank you. That was a great question. Let's see. John, are you on here? Did I already say we had Tom? John, are you still with us? Okay.
Yes, I'm here.
All right, go ahead. I love your question. Ask away.
Yeah, so my question is around weight training during prep, because, when you're, off season, you're not really thinking about, weights, the actual weight that you're lifting going down. Everything just feels easy. But then when you're pretty deep in prep, I mean, even the warm-up weight feels a little heavy sometimes. And I was just curious kind of what other people and other pros are doing, with that. Like, calories are coming down, carbs are coming down, and the weight. I mean, sometimes you literally just can't do 3 sets of 10 for that heavy weight anymore. So are you adjusting the actual weight, cut it by 10% to still get 3 sets of 10 and maybe do an extra set so your volume's the same? Or do you just keep the same weight and just try to fight through it? Or do you cut the weight, by like 30% or something and just to try to increase the volume a lot? Or, I'm just really curious about kind of what others are doing with that.
So John's asking, when those energy levels are pretty low, like how can you still continue to get that good workout in, or what are some options, right? Is that what you're asking, John?
Yes, exactly.
I'll answer that. Personally, what I do is I go by feel. So obviously I can't press as heavy as weight or the weight that I was doing before I got really deep into prep, like you're saying. So, but I also don't want to injure myself. So I will gradually come down on the weight, like you said, maybe 10%. And then sometimes I consider myself more of a volume trainer. So if I have to come down too much in the weight because my body just doesn't feel right, I always like to do a warm-up set, but sometimes the weight that I use for the warm-up set, I'm only going to go 5 pounds heavier maybe, and I'm just going to do more sets overall because my body just doesn't feel it. And then maybe next week I can go maybe do like a pyramid type thing where I'm going up and then back down in the weight, which is typically that's what I would do when I train in the off season. But personally, I listen to my body, and I know that's like, to coin that phrase, it's been thrown around forever, but you got to listen to your body, and you got to know when this doesn't feel right, or this is hurting, or this weight isn't, I feel like if I push too much on here, I'm going to hurt myself, especially when you're in prep, because there's no point in injuring yourself after you've prepped for that long for a show, and then you can't even do it. So personally, that's what I do.
Zach, did you want to jump in, or?
Yeah, so I make sure I'm tracking everything, and as our energy and our calories, everything comes down and most of the time our strength's going to come down. So I will cut some weight off. I'll still try to hit about the same rep range. I don't change a whole lot between off season and in season as far as exercise and rep schemes go. Just the weight comes down. I may add just a little bit of volume. Your range of motion a lot of times is going to increase whenever you start dieting down. So that plays a big part of it as well. So you got to be aware of, like George said, of injuries. So just training smart, still trying to hit those numbers, and just let the weight come down, get your ego out of there, and just if you have to go a little less weight, then go less weight.
See, and I'm going to jump in, but my disclaimer first, CAT has assembled an amazing panel of professionals in the industry, and all extremely knowledgeable and well-versed. Our viewpoints may differ a little bit, and that's completely fine. And that's to be expected. The training, nutrition, the whole gamut of our sport is very vast. So, our opinions and our thoughts and our views on things may not always align. I'm kind of under the belief that, if you're a bodybuilder trying to reach elite caliber world-class conditioning, strength is going to suffer. It's inevitable. That being said, a majority of your prep strength shouldn't suffer at all. Energy will. So you may not be able to do the 3 sets of 10 with a given weight, 4 sets of 10 with a given weight, high volume. The weights, you won't feel as strong, but your strength, if you can't do 3 sets of 8 with your work set weight that you have listed, can you do 2 sets? Can you do 2 sets of 8? So I'm not opposed to actually doing the opposite of what many people recommend. I want your strength to stay there, because your strength is there. That muscle is still there, unless you're doing something less than optimal for your prep. Your strength should be there. You're just going to run out of energy a little bit quicker. So your volume will decrease. You shouldn't be decreasing the weights though, because what built you that muscle is what's going to help keep that muscle. So what are you doing to lose body fat? You're following nutrition, and you're executing your cardio protocols. Weight training wise, you want to be able to stimulate maximal. In a caloric deficit, you're not going to grow, but that's how you're going to maintain as much muscle as possible. So I'm more of a fan of reducing work volume, but keeping your work set weights right where they should be. Still focusing on progression. Now, again, you're not going to, have that linear strength, progression in a caloric deficit, but you should be striving to do that. George mentioned kind of being instinctive, is kind of intuitive training and going by feel. Now, for a seasoned pro like George, that's one thing. But for a majority of us, I think you mentioned that you just started, was it last year, John?
Well, I've been lifting for years, but I just started last year. Yeah.
Lifting is one thing. Like the process of contest prep is a learning process, and you're gonna continue to learn year after year. But I really feel that instead of going by, because honestly, I know John, not personally, but I've seen him on Facebook. I've seen his pics. Amazing physique. Dude can get dialed in. You're going to feel it. You're in contest prep at an elite. You're a pro. You are going to feel like. So for many people, if we train by feel, we're almost making it an excuse. We're validating lowering the weight because we feel like. I very rarely, unless an individual kind of has a good mindset, like George, I would rather, if my workout log says that I need after warming up, I'm on a bench press, my work set weight is 235 for 2 sets of 8. It's me against that workout log. I'm not going to load, because physically, if I did that last week, if I did 230 pounds for 2 sets of 8 last week, I know that I can increase that by 2.5 on each side. I can increase it by 5 pounds. That's what it's me against that workout log. I may feel like because I'm dieting, but physically that muscle should be there. And if it's not, then maybe that's an indication that we're not approaching your prep optimally. So I don't like to go by feel. I like to go by what I know I'm physically capable of achieving. So volume may decrease, but when it comes to intensity and the weights that suggests people lift, that does not go down. Now, again, it's inevitable, that it's going to happen eventually, but I never want to have that as my default where I'm just going to lower the weight, and I'll add a couple more sets in, because I actually think big picture wise, it is counterproductive if we're dropping the weight and just adding more workload in a caloric deficit.
Thank you, John. Did that answer your question? That was good. All good input.
Yeah, it was really good. I mean, the thing that I've discovered is that there are some lifts that just feel like, oh, this is about to be rough. And
but John, you say because I agree. Being in a caloric deficit, I'm so sorry to interrupt, but being in a caloric deficit and then getting in the squat rack with with maximum workload, you almost fear that. It's like, I don't have any energy to even get out of bed and how am I going to do that? I'll tell you how you do it. You get on the bar and lift, because physically you can do it. Again, within reason. But 9 times out of 10, we do those lifts that you mentioned. Like, man, it's just, I know that they're going to be rough. The deadlifts, the squats, but you'd be amazed. You may not be able to do German volume training 10 sets of 10 on a maximum deadlift, but you could do something with less volume, but still that maximum workload. You may feel like you have nothing left in the tank. That's your mind. Your body can do it though. Again, within reason.
Sure.
But like if you did it last week, you can do it. You can do it this week. And it may not be the case. Get a good spotter to keep you safe. Because, like George mentioned, we don't want to have you injured. But to validate lowering the weight because you feel drained, in my professional opinion, that's second place. That's runner-up talk. So.
Good. Yeah, no, that's very helpful.
All right. Thanks, guys. Michael, you had some good questions too. Michael, I'm going to unmute you. Are you still there? Make sure you guys
still here.
Okay, good. I was going to say, make sure you stay on because we're having a drawing at the end.
Okay.
Some awesome prizes. So you have to be present to win.
Sounds good.
All right, Michael, you're up. You had a great question. And if there's any other things that have popped up, feel free.
Honestly, I've forgotten I asked about competing between like as an amateur and a pro, like what are the biggest differences? And then I've thought of a couple throughout this. So I guess, that's the first one is like for the pros, like what do you guys see as like the biggest difference between competing as a pro compared to competing as an amateur?
George?
Yeah. When I competed as an amateur, it was at the Michigan Roar, actually, where I met you, Michael.
Yeah.
We were both there competing at the same time. And I went against I was in a class with two classic physique beginners they were dialed in, and I was not. So, and they were just starting their competition. So I think as you start out there, as you get higher up and you just start to compete as a pro, it's like there might be some people that look good, and I don't mean that to sound mean or negative, but when you compete as a pro, it's like everybody looks good. Almost everybody is just like, that's what I've noticed. That's the difference. Like, everybody is really, really serious. They're really, really putting everything in. They're dieting right. They're training right. So to me, that was the difference. It's almost, I don't want to say it's like harder, but it's harder because pros are pros. So to me, that's the biggest difference. It's just the competition, the caliber of competition, just how they show up ready because they have that experience. They know what to do.
Yeah, it's like a psychological thing, like day of, because I know, at least for like me at the Roar, when I showed up for men's physique, there's 3 other competitors, and 2 of them I knew, like, I for sure had them. And the one I was like, it depends on how the judges see it. And sure enough, that's who I ended up losing to. So would you say it's more of a psychological day of show thing?
Yeah, but you don't want to do that because I think personally, I think, like for instance, the Michigan State last year, I did a couple of different classes, and I know when I was going for the 40 plus masters, I looked at the conditioning of the two that I was with, and one gentleman, Renee, I watched him before. He was actually at that show, I think, Michael, that you were at, the Roar. I like his posing. I thought, okay, he's good, but I just had to think of me. I'm gonna go out there. I'm gonna do this. It's me against me. How can I go out there and hit these and just impress the judges, do everything right, and not worry about who I'm up there against? Because if you do that, like you said, it's psychological. You could beat yourself. You could beat yourself before you even, like I did at the Roar when I was up against those two. I looked at them and thought, well, it's over. It's psychological. I beat myself before I even went out there. Granted, they would have beat me anyway because my conditioning was out to lunch, but.
Yeah, but you're right though, George. And then I'm sorry to jump in, but at the pro level, you're right. You could fall apart just looking at other people rather than bringing your best package to the stage, and you never know. I mean, someone else might not be as in shape. Your posing might be better.
I know that we're running short on time here. Going back to mindset, because Mike and George, that's the topic right now. Mike, man, it's you only give even a moment's thought to something that you have the control to change. Every thought, your mindset, you got to ask yourself, is this productive? Is this going to help me present my physique to the fullest? Is this a productive mindset? Because if you're looking at other people that are showing up on stage, who you see backstage, how could that possibly be productive to you? And like George mentioned, it's almost like a self-fulfilling prophecy. The more you worry, the more, cortisol spikes, you're holding on the water. I have had so many clients that backstage, they're like, oh, they're worried about this or that. And they almost don't even, they literally, for like first-time competitors, they don't want to get on stage because, oh, look at her, look at him. And then they go on to not only win their class, but win their overall and win a pro card. It's, don't talk yourself out. Like, unless there's something that you could do to make this a positive, mindset, unless there's steps that you can take to make this better, why even let that creep into your head? So it's,
because I'm on prep and I'm eating like 1,300 calories a day and doing.
But I know. But Kat, I was going to say again, I know we're short in time, but you're the most seasoned pro on this panel. Outside of mindset, do you have any? Because you've competed on an elite world stage, an amateur versus the pro stage. Do you have any just thoughts on what Michael's original question was?
Well, no, I mean, just the biggest difference is, I agree with George, is these athletes are, I mean, you're competing against the best of the best. So when you hit that stage, you need to be your best of your best and just present that, because you can't help if you have someone whose muscle bellies are way bigger than yours and you're a smaller athlete. But what you can help is that when you go out and present to those judges, that you are there. And then they see you. And you may not win, you may. And the great thing is you have the opportunity to be on stage. And I love that because it pushes me harder when I get off stage and like, holy cow, I need to really, dial this in. Not just because of other people, but for my own self. So that's just, focus on you. And if you know that there's areas where you need to improve those, because there's someone out there who you're going to hit the stage with who's already working on it. So that's all I got. Wait, Rico's got something to say. Hold on, Rico. I had to mute your treadmill is on. No, you're good. Okay, I can't hear you. Can you guys hear Rico? Someone named Rebecca just joined us. We're going to be wrapping up here, but I have someone, Rebecca, on here. Is that another Tom, or do we have somebody who joined us recently? No.
Rico, is your audio?
Your audio's off. And I wanted to actually hear from Rico too, because he's got the pro stage as well.
Rico, is your mute on right now?
And I don't have him muted on my end.
Yeah, Rico's audio is not on. Well, is there any more questions? Any listeners?
Michael, you actually said you had a couple more. Let's go ahead and wrap it up in like 4 minutes. We'll do our drawings. The drawing, we did the random drawing, so we're gonna let you guys. I'll tell you what the prizes are, and then you can choose what you want based on your placing.
The other question that I thought of during this was just if anybody has any good men's physique posing trunk places. I just found one website today, and I ordered like 5 suits to try, but they're like all $60. So if I could get some of that money back, that'd be great. But the biggest question I had was, how does like a live format show work? Because Leaf, I know like the Roar was like pre-judging and then judging, but I know for Michigan State it's going to be like a one and done thing. So like, how does that work?
So the single format live judged events, reach out to the promoter. I know in this scenario I am the promoter, but always this is not a in stone, kind of format. How we're going to be doing at the Michigan State is we come out for your class to execute the mandatory posing. I then dismiss the entire class. I bring you back one at a time for your T-walks. And then I bring you all out for awards. So it's just going to be a running format. Mandatories, T-walk, awards, and then you're done for the day. No waiting around, anything like that. So the show is going to have a nice flow.
Nice.
Spectators will be in and out, to support whoever they're there to support.
And you want to do men's physique very first day, right?
A week prior to the event, before you formulate your peak week, I'll have that information out to you.
Cool. Sounds good. Thank you.
Anytime.
Awesome. Any other questions, guys? And I'll tell you what our prizes are, and who won what.
And Leaf, in that form that you were just talking about, after the competitors on stage, are they able to then go in the audience and watch the rest of the show?
Absolutely. Yep.
Go and eat some cake, whatever you want. Just kidding. I had a funny question. Okay, so we're going to go ahead. Our first prize winner. Tom, are you on here still?
Yes, I am.
Okay, so these are the prizes you can choose from. We have a 30-minute posing session with Zach. We have a Natty amateur registration for any Natty Revolution show and a t-shirt, Natty registration. We also have a cool Natty t-shirt, which I will show you a couple. We have there's way more on the website, but these are just a couple of them that I have because I love my Natty shirts.
Mm-hmm.
Got your lions, not sheep. Let your roar be heard. So you can choose if you want a t-shirt. I'm also giving away Florida Surge registration for a show in April next year, and a Florida Surge t-shirt with that. So what you think?
Wow, those are incredible gifts. You guys are unbelievable. By the way, this was a lot of fun and very informative, and I appreciate it. It was great. Now, the Florida Surge, is that in addition to the other ones, or just that's separate, right? I mean, you just choose that one and then we're done?
Yeah, you'll get the Florida Surge registration and t-shirt. If you wanted to do that show, it's April 24th, 2021. And it's down here. It'll be in the Southwest Florida area.
Well, that sounds fantastic. But, with 8 grandkids and everything, and horses and everything that's going on, I just better not commit to that. As much as I think I would really love to do that, I think I'll just go with the Natty t-shirt would be great.
All right. And Tom, you can choose it out. I'll put you in contact with Leaf. He does the Natty Revolution. You can go on their website and choose any of the awesome t-shirts that he has available.
Well, that's fantastic. And those are great prizes. And this was very, very informative and a lot of fun. And I appreciate everybody for taking their time and all the pros.
Thank you, Tom.
Thanks for joining us, Tom.
Okay, prize number 2 goes to John. Is John on here still?
Woo-hoo. Yeah, I'm still here.
All right. So.
Yeah, I totally echo that. I first wanted to say thanks for doing this and everybody coming on and answering these questions. This was very informative and really gets me pumped for my training session today, later on this afternoon. So I'm excited. I'll say, I was planning to register for Michigan, so I'll take that registration.
Is it for, it's an amateur registration. Are you registering as an amateur, John, or a pro? I'm sorry. I should
What we can actually do is I'd be willing to apply an amateur entry. We'll just take that off of John's pro entry.
Oh, cool.
So
that's awesome.
Kat will send out the info, but I'll create a discount code for registration, and we'll just take $100 off of your pro entry for the Michigan State.
That is so cool. Thank you very much.
Okay, perfect. That works out, John. So third place we have Michael.
Thank you guys. This was super helpful. Definitely gets me. I'm about to go hit belts here. So,
we're getting pumped now.
Yeah, that's why I've been on mute video because I've been getting dressed and whatnot while I'm listening to you guys. And I guess what's still on the table and what are my options?
You have a 30-minute posing session with Zach, or an amateur surge registration with a T-shirt.
Ooh. All right, Leaf. I guess I'm coming to sunny Duluth, Minnesota in October and not going out to Cali. If I can do that one, that would be awesome. Although I might be coming out there as a pro. And I think, actually, you know what? I'm going to do the posing because in order to become a pro, I should probably nail that down. So I'm going to do the posing. Let's do that.
Okay. So I have Michael down for Zach. I'll get you in contact with Zach.
Awesome.
Thank you, guys. I really appreciate it. This is awesome.
No, thank you. And then Rico, that leaves you. But you're already a pro athlete. So how about I send you a Florida Surge T-shirt? I can't hear you. Give me thumbs up if that's good. Thumbs up, you want your T-shirt? All right. Thank you for joining us, you guys. Great. Thank you so much, panel. It was great to hear your guys' questions. Thank you for the promoter feedback from the athletes on what makes a great show. And I will share that with our promoters on the panel too, so we can make this our sport awesome. Thank you, guys.
Awesome. Nice seeing everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you.
That was wonderful.
See you, Rico.
Thank you.
See you, everybody.
See you guys. Thanks, Matt.